Hey guys, welcome back to MJTR Gets All Indulgent about a fanfic he wrote a decade ago and then reads it. I feel like, particularly in this case, a bit of an introduction is necessary because there's just some weird choices to this particular story that I might not have done if I were to attempt to write it today, and just kind of talking about the headspace behind us. This is my most popular fanfic, or most read fanfic that I ever did, by a pretty sizable margin. I would, as much as I would like to be exclusively the angel of the bad guy, you combine all three of the views from fanfic.net that the original, that the Angel trilogy got, and they still don't touch what this story did. Some of that's yesteryear stuff, but I looked at it and this story is still getting a lot of views. Let's talk about it for just a minute before I do my big dramatic reading of it. Now, the story actually starts a little ways before Five Nights at Freddy's existed, because this is, funnily enough, it's a sequel to a piece I wrote years before called Devil May Cry Revelations, and it has that title because, like, it's a biblical reference. It's like, this is the last Devil May Cry story, was the idea of it. This is the Dark Knight Returns of Devil May Cry stories, and this was years before Devil May Cry 5 came out that I wrote Revelations. So it was kind of me doing my own Devil May Cry 5. It went in a very different direction from the actual Devil May Cry 5. I have a mostly positive opinion of that game, but I didn't end up loving every bit of it as much as I really would have liked to. But anyway, so I wrote Devil May Cry Revelations, and at the end of that story, after the main antagonist is defeated, and after I basically wrote this whole thing to kind of be a hit piece about, like, why DMC Devil May Cry sucks, and why Ninja Theory can go suck it, all that stuff. That's what a lot of that story was. Dante retired happily and started raising a family, and he kind of the story was very much about his sad clown persona in a lot of ways. And then we get Dante getting his happy ending, which, like, maybe is a little schmaltzy for a character like him, but it's what I want to do at the time. So, Dante's Night at Freddy's follows after that. So, we see him married, we see his children, all that business, because I wanted to put it in continuity with that older story. Like, partially because it was just extra funny to write something very silly after a more serious piece, following up after a more serious piece like that. So this is an older, tired, retired dad, Dante, who gets to take center stage in this story. Now, so that's the Devil May Cry side of things. This was released very early in Five Nights at Freddy's existence. We had no talk of a sequel yet. Fanfiction.net didn't even have a dedicated section for Five Nights at Freddy's yet. Which, like, after over a decade of that series making all the money and all the merchandise and all of that stuff, is, like, absurd to think about to me anymore. I never really... I followed the games pretty closely, and I kept up on the game theory videos and all that business back when. So there's some of that in here, and yeah, I thought when I first saw that first game and first saw the gameplay and, like, the central idea of it, the kind of helplessness, the creepy looks on those bots, I was like, yeah, that's actually genuinely fucking scary. And if you want to go really way back, when I was a kid, not a kid, but, like, let's say between, like, 10 and 12 or 13 years old, something like that. So relatively young, I was first introducing myself to horror material, and, like, it did scare the piss out of me. So, like, one of the ways I was kind of counteracting that was imagining, alright, what if a hardened demon slayer like Dante had to fight these guys, and usually he was making a fool of them. So that kind of lessened the impact. So years later, as Five Nights at Freddy's is out here, being like, oh, fuck, this is actually creepy shit, I was like, alright, what if we inserted Dante in here, and he didn't give a fuck about anything going on? And that's where this was born. And originally the idea was, here's this thing that we can all laugh at together, and maybe we'll feel a little less frightened. And I've seen, like, what has become of Five Nights at Freddy's at this point. People genuinely love these characters now, and may well object to the fact that I reduce them to blood and guts over the course of this story, but that's just kind of where the mindset was all those years ago. So that kind of sets the stage. That gives you an idea of what this is and why this is. So I'm gonna stop babbling on this off-the-cuff improv manner and start babbling by reading you the story. I hope you have fun. Dante's Night at Freddy's. Chapter 1. It took weeks of nagging and convincing, but little Evie finally managed to do it. After the many exciting commercials that aired day after day when she got home from school, she convinced her father to take her out for her 6th birthday to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. He long argued that the place had no dignity to it, that he didn't want to support any business that forced its employees to wear such demeaning, not to mention creepy, attire, and that their pizza would surely be subpar, at best. Still, constant cries from his daughter led to constant cries from her little brother Arthur, which led to further irritation from his wife Lucia. So, with a hard swallow of pride and a roll of his eyes, Dante agreed to take Evie to Freddy's for her birthday. Evie was so excited that she didn't even mind that he wanted to sit in the corner with his fingers rubbing at his forehead as he shamefacedly slurped down strawberry malt after strawberry malt, Lucia next to him with young Arthur. "You know today isn't supposed to be about you," his wife said. "You should be happy that Evie is happy." "This place stinks. Literally." Dante squinted his eyes as he scanned the room. "Smells like spit and blood. Last time I was in a place that stank like this, a gigantic tower just spurred out of the ground a few blocks from my place, and a bunch of hells carved up a strip joint." "Would you keep it down? What if someone overhears you? Over Teddy and his band of nightmares over there?" Dante pointed a finger at the animatronics unconvincingly playing instruments on stage. "Oh, I'm sorry. Freddy and his band of nightmares. I'll give it this much. Not as bad as the last time I dealt with a Freddy and nightmare. Refill your drinks, sir?" A disinterested, pimply-faced teenaged employee in an oversized teddy bear costume asked. "Please! And do you have anything, heavier back there by chance? Unless you want to try the oil that lubes the robots, no." The kid took his malt glass. "How about that chicken?" Dante asked. "I want what that chicken's having. She looks like she's having a great time." "Do you need to insist on being a nuisance any time we go anywhere you don't want to go?" Lucy asked. "Oh, come on. This place is supposed to be fun, right? This is how I have fun at these places. I'm too big for the ball pit." "Well, why don't you try having fun with Evie?" Lucia said. "She's over at the arcade next to Pirate's Cove." Dante sighed and pushed himself up, made his way past the out-of-order Pirate's Cove attraction, and found his daughter standing on a stool as she desperately mashed buttons on a Street Fighter II machine. "Hey, Squirt, how you holding up?" Dante asked. When she didn't answer, he looked at the screen as Chun-Li struggled to defeat Vega as he delivered swipe after swipe with his claw hand. "I could swear his name was Barlog back when I last played this," Dante said to himself. After many failed combos, Vega landed the finishing blow, and Evie lowered her head in shame for a moment before sadly turning to her father. "Daddy, could you finish the game for me?" For the first time since arriving at the third-rate pizza parlor, Dante felt happy to do something, patted Evie on the back, and said, "Leave it to me." Dante shoved in a few quarters and took Evie's place. His mind raced for combos as he made short work of Vega. Afterwards, he suffered a defeat at the hands of Sagat, but bounced back quickly and defeated him as well, leaving only the dreaded M. Bison to contend with. "This one's for you, kiddo." Dante said. But true to his status as final boss, Bison would not be overcome. Dante's usually excellent memory of attack combos began to blank as he stared enraged at lose screen after lose screen at the hands of Bison and his ridiculously unfair slide kick. Again and again, he pushed on and tried, at one point pulling a $5 bill out of his pocket and demanding Evie bring him more quarters. Dad, I don't really care if you... He is not going to beat me! Evie sighed and went to retrieve his change. Dante kept button mashing, struggling for any possible hit he could, as Evie kept feeding the machine quarters. When she told him she ran out, he pulled out his wallet to find it completely bare of cash, as Bison delivered his final slide kick. Dante stared in disbelief. Every pixel on Bison's face mocked his poor performance. For a moment he forgot entirely how powerful he was. The look of the mocking forced his hand. Dante's fist sailed through the machine, which let out a loud, horrible crash as it broke, and he tore his hand out from it. When the furious moment passed, he heard a few small children crying that he broke a machine, and one of the men in the teddy bear costumes telling another to go get the boss. It wasn't 10 awkwardly silent minutes later when Dante's shoulder was tapped by the infuriated manager. "Do you have any idea how much damage that little stunt you just pulled did?" he asked. "Do you know how hard we struggle to get business around here as it is? Maybe you ought to consider washing those animatronics of yours once in a while," Dante said. "It stinks bad in here." "Quiet, you rat! I should have you arrested for damage to my property." "Please, sir," Lucia said as she pulled Arthur close. "My husband gets impulsive sometimes. We can pay for the broken machine." "Well, actually," the manager sighed. "Look, our last night shift security guy just quit. We need somebody to cover the rest of the week. You owe us money. You think you could stop by here and work that off?" "Wouldn't be my first pro bono arrangement," Dante said. "He would be happy to." Lucia glared at Dante shortly thereafter. "When can he start?" I don't know, tonight? Midnight till 6 a.m.? "Yes, he'll be here." Lucia still leered at Dante. "Yeah, sure, why not? What my wife said. Midnight to 6. What could possibly go wrong?"